Oh, back by popular demand, it is the Gabe Swartz Show here on KCTV5. I'm Jared Koller, KC Sports Tonight, and it's a Tuesday edition after the long slumber that was Patrick Mahomes away from the podium and the long slumber that was Gabe Swartz away from this show. He is back. Gabe, before we talk about the Chiefs, I know you were back yesterday, but that was with Marlia, so I'm sure there was a lot of educated talk. You know, she's very smart. No, not on my watch. How was your time away?
It felt like a long time. It felt like a great reset. There was a lot of debate of rest versus rust. I felt like we put a good show together yesterday.
Okay.
Hoping
for
that,
both the Chiefs and for
exactly that's
and
a
for
common,
the Gabe Swartz Show.
It's a common
for those
theme.
that don't know, he was on his honeymoon.
Yeah, so enjoyed a lot of time off, both here and out of the country, which was nice.
And they let you back in the country.
And they let me back.
Neil
in.
Jones and I had a bet on whether or not Gabe would be.
They said, "Do you have anything to declare?" And I said,
"These hot takes.
Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of all time." And somehow people in Houston were like, "Yeah, you can connect through our city."
Yeah, that's smart. If you would have brought up the 2015 Royals-Astros ALDS, it might have gone a little different. If you brought up the name Tony Sipp, who could not field a ground ball hit by one Kendrys Morales. Either way, Gabe, good to have you back. Good to have Patrick Mahomes back at the podium. It's been a while. I don't think I've felt the time away from the Chiefs as much as I will once they hit the field on Saturday. Like, Gabe, you'll be there, correct?
That's the plan.
Okay, that's the plan. And I will be here, so I'll see him on TV. You'll see him on the field. And when I first see Mahomes run out there, it's going to be like, okay, here we go. Like, this is what it's like. It's kind of like when you're waiting for a long time for a movie to come out, and right when you see the movie start to play, I don't know if you're like me, Gabe, but I do a little dance in my chair. I'm like, oh my gosh,
wow.
This is so. I'm so excited. And then I get lost in the world, and then it's 3 hours later. It'll be like that, I think, when the Chiefs take the field on Saturday, because we've had this wait, not just the time without seeing Mahomes, Kelsey, and company, but the time since the game really mattered. You know, the last time I was a wreck over a Chiefs game was the 49ers Super Bowl. And guess what, Gabe? I'm going to be a wreck on Saturday, especially if it's close. So I'm looking forward to just seeing them back out there in a game that has all the marbles.
Yeah, I think that I was kind of racking my brain today about the different AFC divisional games that the Chiefs have played in the Patrick Mahomes era, because they've there's been various and there's been various levels of competitiveness in them, in the sense that the Chiefs have handled several of them relatively easy. That the Colts one, the first one, comes to mind. I think that even aside from the whole ankle situation, that the Jaguars game a couple years ago was relatively
still a one-score
easy.
game.
Yes, still a one-score game.
But yeah, not that
the Browns
in-doubt,
game
maybe.
where Henny had to come in and convert a fourth down late was different. So there's been all of these different kinds
then
of
the Texans where they were down 24-0.
Yeah, the Texans where they were down.
And then the
24-0.
two Bills clashes. That's where, Gabe, you saying that. What has been the more entertaining round, the AFC Championship round or the divisional round in Chiefs in the Patrick Mahomes era? I would go the divisional round, and I don't know how close it is.
Yeah, I mean, the quality of games have actually been, to a certain extent, higher. The counterpoint to the AFC Championship would just be that either the Chiefs have won the AFC Championship or it has at least been an overtime game.
Yes.
I would argue that no game has been more frustrating than the Bengals AFC Championship game that they lost, in large part because the better unit of the Chiefs was the reason that they lost that game.
Well, and the other Patriots lost where they didn't get the ball in overtime, and they could have won without D Ford. So that's where, from a, not even just entertainment, from which round have you enjoyed more? I think the divisional round, because they're obviously undefeated. But even like the 2020 AFC Championship game, the Chiefs, or 2021, the Chiefs rolled the Bills. That wasn't competitive at all. And the Titans the year before, when they won their first Super Bowl, they got down early, but that one was also kind of over.
Winning by what?
I think it was 10
scores.
or 11.
Yeah, but they were up 18 when Watkins scored the
and so that's where
game-breaking touchdown.
Obviously, the Bengals was a good one, and the Ravens last year. But the divisional round has really only had that one blowout, and it was the very first. It was Patrick Mahomes' playoff debut. Mm-hmm. So the divisional round has been very cut because the Jaguars game, in in hindsight wasn't any doubt, but when Patrick Mahomes goes down with what looked like a serious injury, that was crazy. And then again, Chad Henne saving the day against Cleveland, that was very much in doubt. So it's been an awesome round. Yeah. I hope for more victory this year, but maybe less stress. Like, that's where if this is another one-score game, which I think it probably will be, but it has the potential not to be. I hope it's not.
Yeah, I think that there's just a lot of feeling around town and just around the fan base that this is kind of a foregone conclusion that they're going to win, and you have to believe that the team is not looking ahead, even though I think the fan base and the general feeling of yes, we're excited for playoff football, but one of the things that we're as excited about is locking up an appearance in the AFC Championship game and then getting a chance to watch Lamar and Josh Allen and the Ravens and Bills go at it on Sunday night. I think that is the context or the juxtapositioning of being just as exciting. Yes, the fan base of being just as excited for the other side of the AFC bracket is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And I also think that given that it's the same 4 teams in this round as last year, that this is kind of it's the first little bit of continuity that we've gotten in terms of a like 4th team in the bracket, because we've been consistently seeing Chiefs, Ravens, Bills in this discussion, and I know Bengals fans love to think that they're in it, but they've missed the playoffs as many times.
Yeah, that's because when they have been in the playoffs, they've done damage.
Yes.
So I would put the Bengals ahead of the Texans in that regard. If you didn't look at if just based on eye test or aura, but yeah, the Texans, you give them credit for being in the Final Four. I think people were more confident that they would do damage last year than this year. Partly because they just whereas last year they kind of surged out of the regular season, pulled off a win that people think they couldn't, whereas this, they upset the Chargers since they were underdogs, but some people view that as just Justin Herbert. Others, still thinking about how they really struggled down the stretch. And so that brings up the Texans, Gabe, and that how scared should Chiefs fans be? Because it sounds like you're saying, hey, they shouldn't be, overlooked by this Chiefs team. I think they probably should be. I don't think they're that good.
I think that the Chiefs should go in confident, well-rested. I think that one of the things that bodes well for the Chiefs is if you looked at the injury report this week, and if you looked at the injury report, at least that came out today, is the list of everyone on the Chiefs' active roster is either a full participant.
Yeah.
The only limited participant is McCole Hardman, who is still technically on injured reserve.
Yeah.
So whether he's activated or not remains to be seen.
And they only need him for the Super Bowl anyway, so that's okay.
Yeah. So we'll
but no,
see.
Jalen Watson.
Jalen Watson, full participant. That's huge. Chris Jones, full participant.
But like the Texans' passing offense, I don't know I think they need Jalen Watson against the Bills if they were to play the Bills. I don't know if they need Jalen Watson against the Texans.
Yes, but you also don't want his first game back being
exactly
the Bills or Ravens.
That's where
at the same time, if you look at the Texans injury report, first of all, Azeez Al-Shaair was a DNP with a knee injury. You've got Nico Collins, who is just straight up taking a rest day on Tuesday of the AFC Divisional, which I would say is not a great sign for the load that they're asking of him. And then you've got Dalton Schultz on there, Robert Woods on there. So
obviously they've been without Tank Dell.
Yeah, they're without Tank Dell. 3 of their top 6 pass catchers
that's what I mean,
were non-participants.
Well, that's why they pounded the rock with Joe Mixon so often against the Chargers, and it was effective.
I mean,
effective enough.
It was effective once they got a lead, though.
Right, but that's what you.
That's
part of the purpose of the run game.
Off of Joe Mixon running the ball.
No. Well, they didn't get off passing the ball either, really.
Well,
they got it off their defense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what I would say is if the Chiefs avoid turning the ball over and doing
but
weird things, they're in great shape in this game.
Yes, but I think it's still going to be more about what the Chiefs do than the Texans, in that as long as the Chiefs play their game, and not just the turnovers, the penalties, but sustaining drives, and I think the only path to victory for the Texans is through their defense having a day. And I'm very confident the Chiefs offense we saw against the Texans last time, against the Steelers, is a little bit more of the offense now because we know they're going to unleash DeAndre Hopkins now. We know Hollywood Brown's going to get unleashed, Xavier Worthy. Like, I'm very high on this offense. Like, that's where I'm more worried about how they match up maybe with the Bills or Ravens because I think they could score a lot of points on the Chiefs. But in this matchup, since I don't think the Texans can do that, that's where I think it probably going to be a one-score game because every Chiefs game is. But I feel very confident Kansas City's going to win.
I think it might be a one-score game, but I think it could be one of those where you've got the Texans driving late down like 10.
Oh, okay.
And so they score late, and the Chiefs have to recover an onside kick to avoid giving them the ball back with like a 3-point lead.
Or Kansas City's up 7, gets the ball with 2 minutes left, and milks the clock or something. Yeah. I will be disappointed if the Texans have a chance to win it at the end.
I'm checking. I really want to see
8.5 point spread.
Well, I want to see what Mixon ran for in the first matchup because if
I don't think so.
If I remember correctly, it didn't feel like he ran for much.
No, and that was a weird game, kind of. But no, that's where I will be disappointed if at the end we're counting on the Chiefs' defense to get a stop, whether that's a field goal or a touchdown or a tie. Like, I think this is one that, one-score game in the fourth quarter, that's fine, but the Chiefs at the end of the day should put this game away. In part because I think the rest is an advantage. If you want to give them a pass on the first drive of the game for offense and defense, fine. After that, I think they have the game plan, they have the rest, they have the full strength. I think they should capitalize on that.
It was 14 carries for 57 yards for Joe Mixon.
Not great. That's Isaiah Pacheco type numbers.
So. And I don't think that C.J. Stroud is just going to drop back and beat you the whole time. It's interesting that the Texans, in terms of the way that the Chiefs went about beating them offensively in the first matchup, was a lot of quick game. And I think that the big reason why I'm comfortable with the Chiefs, if they do, going to DJ Humphries this week offensively at left tackle, is because I think more of the success is to do with Hollywood Brown coming back and getting on the same page as Xavier Worthy and getting on the same page as Travis Kelce. And I think that Mahomes' connection with Brown, Kelce, and Worthy, and then a little bit of Hopkins as well, I think that has more to do with why they looked really good against the Texans and Steelers than it is that Joe Thuney did some incredible job at left tackle. So Joe Thuney, I don't think, is an incredible left tackle. He's serviceable.
I think the floor is higher, and against the Texans, I don't understand risking that. If you want to make the argument that the Chiefs need to win a shootout against the Ravens or Bills, and your best chance of doing that is with DJ Humphries at left tackle and Joe Thuney left guard, okay.
But that's why I would do it now. Because I think
then you risk losing, though, to the Texans Will Anderson. Their front seven is decent and can get after the quarterback.
But they got so much pressure up the middle against the Chargers and I wouldn't want Mike Caliendo straight up against
I don't either, but I don't love that against DJ Humphries either, because what we've seen from him doesn't inspire confidence. And I think a pathway to losing is Patrick Mahomes constantly running or getting hit from behind and having a fumble in own territory, or worse, being hurt. And so, speaking just for the Texans game, which offensive line combo provides more time to throw the ball? Thuney and Humphrey or Thuney and Caliendo?
Well,
Humphries, sorry.
I think it's Humphries and
okay.
Thuney, because I think that,
and you might be right. That's a risk I don't want to take.
I think that you run the ball better with Thuney, Humphrey, and Smith up the middle,
right?
And I think that the argument is that Humphries is better at left tackle than Caliendo is at left guard.
Yeah, but left tackle is more important than left guard.
But there's been time and time again, what we've seen throughout the Andy Reid era of Chiefs football is that Andy Reid is as good as anybody at scheming around one singular deficiency on the offensive line in a big game. And I would rather have an all-pro at his all-pro position and a mere mortal, that even being a former Pro Bowler at left tackle, than just a backup
but
left guard.
that one deficiency you're choosing at left tackle instead of left guard. And if you can choose where to have the deficiency, I'd rather have the deficiency at left guard because I think that's easier to have Creed Humphrey help or running back. Like, I think it's tougher to get home that way. I very well could be wrong. We don't know what Andy Reid's going to run out there today. He didn't really show his cards too much. He said, heck, they might both play.
That is that is possible, but it wouldn't be. I don't think that would be the plan.
Right, I agree.
And that's why I would argue even more to go to Humphreys at left tackle, because if Humphreys is bad, you know that there's a fallback plan that you've seen have success before. Whereas if you go to Tooney at left tackle and Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter are just still game wrecking, you're just left there with no plan B.
And I think your best point is that what's their best combination to win a Super Bowl? It's Humphreys and Tooney, for sure. And you may need that in the AFC Championship game in the Super Bowl, so go to it now. I think, Gabe, that's your best argument, but I do worry about, cashing in the check before you're paid. Like if you start thinking too far ahead, at what do you risk in this first game? I don't know what they're going to do because had Humphreys not had the gaffes that he did against Denver, and it's not like he was terrible the whole game like some people are saying, but at left tackle, when you get beat that badly, even a couple times, that's tough to shake.
But a couple of those are Carson Wentz didn't get the ball out very fast either.
Carson Wentz did not play well.
That
is
like
true.
The context of it matters.
Yes. But I think we've seen Patrick Mahomes this year, maybe more than most, be shaken by offensive line play. Like, I think of that Chargers game, he had happy feet left and right and it wasn't even because they had bad left tackle play. But when you get beat a couple times, it's only human nature to struggle with that. And I think Joe Tooney would probably get beat less than DJ Humphries. But maybe this time off is good for DJ Humphries as well, Maybe Denver game did a lot of good work for him, and now he'll be less rusty. I'm very open. Gabe, I think there's a decent chance when we talk next week, we'll go, wow, great job, Andy Reid. Offensive line did great with Humphreys at left tackle, Tooney at left guard. I think that's a distinct possibility.
Yeah, I mean, they've played
two Super Bowls. But I don't know if I will.
They've played 2 Super Bowls against Nick Bosa, who's one of the premier defensive ends in the league, and they've played 2 times in San Francisco against Nick Bosa, who's a premier defensive end, and they've done it with tackles who are at best questionable, and the Chiefs have been able to successfully scheme or
so Wanya Morris should start at left tackle.
That's not what I'm saying at all. And
but no, you're right.
but my point is, I trust Andy Reid to be able to avoid landmines on the offensive line, as long as it's just one guy that you have to plan around.
And it is interesting that Wanya Morris is no longer even in the conversation after, a month ago, he was the left tackle. And at the start of the season, Kingsley Suamataia, who's now a guard. It's interesting how it's developed. I hope that it's not going to break their back like they did in the 2021 Super Bowl, but obviously that was the entire offensive line, not just one position. So I think, Gabe, what we can agree on is that hopefully the entire offensive line stays healthy, because if anyone goes down, woof. And that goes for really the whole team. I don't think the depth, as we saw in Denver, the depth is not great. So hopefully goal number 1 out of the divisional round, Gabe, win. Number 2, stay healthy.
Yes, and I also think it is worth noting before we discuss Ravens-Bills that this is a Texans team that was lucky to only be down 6-0 early against the Chargers.
Yes.
Could have easily lost. And when they did win, what did they do to celebrate? Well, they were lighting cigars in their locker room after a wild card win.
I don't.
This is a different level of focus and mentality of what's going on.
As it should be. The Texans are a team that are happy to be there, happy to win. The Chiefs have goals of a 3-peat. They shouldn't be held to the same standard. Why should they be, Gabe? That's like...
I think anybody lighting cigars for wild card round wins, it's a little Raider-ish. It's a little Antonio Pierce-ish. And not something I would endorse.
I disagree. I think if you win a playoff game, you can do it. Now, if the Chiefs did that, given their history, I'd be like, what the heck? But, like, it's not like the Texans are this proud franchise. Like, they went through some weird times, man. Like
the Texans, they've got more wins as a franchise in the playoffs since their start than the Cowboys do. Like, they're the best franchise in Texas.
Sorry, Rusty, we're not bringing up the Cowboys, okay? Gosh, that wasn't me. R.I.P. Mike McCarthy. He's not dead. He just got out of a toxic relationship. Shout out Baker University, though, Baldwin, Kansas. No, I agree. I'm just not one. I'm in the age, Gabe, where I think you celebrate how you want to celebrate, okay? I think people are too harsh on, like, okay, do you like when the refs throw flags when some guy gets up and celebrates? When Jaden Hicks is taunting George Pickens, were you like,
no.
Get that under control? No, let the kids celebrate.
That is such an entirely different.
Do you not like
that? Is such an entirely different.
Are you anti MJ Melendez bat flip? Are you anti
that is
pimping home runs?
You're misconstruing my argument completely.
I'm going down the road. But my point being, I think if you haven't been there before, it's the Texans. When's the last time they were in an AFC Championship game? I don't know.
Never.
Right, okay.
Never in their franchise history.
So when you're 1 win away from that, if you want to celebrate, I'm okay. With that said, I think the Chiefs are going to beat them somewhat easily. I hope. I really hope.
We know enough about this team. It won't be somewhat easily.
Right. But I think there's a chance they flip this. The Dolphins game last year, that's the precedent.
But that was the wild card round. The more that I look at it, 5 of Josh Allen's 6 playoff wins are in the wild card round.
He's a
the
fraud.
Wild card round exists to make the 2 and 3 seeds
feel better,
look really good, and then everybody comes into divisional round weekend and they're like, "Oh my goodness, the 2 and 3 seed, they're legitimate threats to the 1 seed."
Yeah.
And unless the
that's
1 seed
I don't like
is not the Chiefs.
I liked the 16 format better when the top 2 got buys.
Yeah,
I think that was a better accurate path. But I get keeping more teams in makes it more interesting. I'm okay with it. But I mean, look what the 2 seeds did. Like both the Bills and Eagles deserved a bye, based on how they played. Maybe the Eagles not as much actually, but either way, that I don't feel strongly about that. But as you said, speaking of the 2 and 3 game, Ravens Bills, Gabe, I don't like either of these teams. But I'm excited for this game. Should be great theater. And I don't think it matters who the Chiefs play or where the Chiefs play, when the Chiefs play. They can beat anyone. But I like having a nice 26-hour advantage or head start over the other 2 teams, especially if Baltimore wins, having to go on the road and then to Kansas City. Doesn't mean that much, but I like it. On this Tuesday, do you have a gut on who you're leaning toward?
I lean toward the Ravens winning, mostly just because I think they're a terrible matchup for the Bills, and
Buffalo whooped them Baltimore whooped Buffalo in the regular season,
and I think that the Ravens are better now than they were in September. I know that the Bills are also better now than they were in September, but I think that the Ravens have improved. And
Ravens started 0-2, right?
I
think they did.
Yes, they did because they lost to the Raiders in week 2.
Yes.
Yeah. So
isn't that crazy?
They've significantly improved from that point of the year, but I don't know. I mean
it's toss up. Yeah, I didn't know if you.
It is such a toss up. It is honestly incredible. Like I feel really strongly that whoever wins the AFC is winning the Super Bowl, and this weekend and the question mark that surrounded the Eagles and just a general lack of belief.
You don't like the Lions' offense?
Jared
you don't
Goff.
think they could put up a lot of points?
I don't think that their defense is going to hold up for 3 playoff rounds.
Fair.
Makes me like I kind of think that the Rams and the Commanders have chances this weekend more than the Texans do. If you're looking at legitimate upsets, because then Ravens Bills is just a pick 'em.
Right.
In fact, the Ravens are the road team, but they're the favorite. But yeah, I think that it's the gap of quarterback play between the AFC, in which everyone is like a superhero, and then the the quarterback play in the NFC, where it's just really, really well-built teams, and then we're kind of starting to see maybe the development of like Jaden Daniels as one of those
I think,
star quarterbacks.
I don't know if that's.
What do you
I think
mean?
the ceilings on every NFC. Yeah, AFC quarterbacks are far more reliable, but I think the ceiling is incredibly high on each NFC quarterback other than Jared Goff, and I think his ceiling is high based on the way they game plan around him. Like I think all four offenses in the NFC could win a shootout against an AFC team. I wouldn't predict it, but I don't think it's a huge gap.
I feel really good about the AFC winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would bet that too, but I don't. I'm not as partly because I look at a Ravens team that I'd forgotten this. They lost to the Raiders, Browns, and Steelers. Ugh.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
I mean, again, we just watched a Chiefs team that won every single game except for one that mattered.
One that they were trying in.
Yeah, so I mean that skews my perspective, but icky. All right, Gabe. Finally, college football playoff. This is, I assuming you did not talk about this with Marlia, correct?
We did not.
So, for those that don't know, Gabe Swartz, Arizona State's finest alum. Yeah, number one, Forks Up. You saw your school play in a game that had one of the highest rated TV watch games in a while. Cool to see your school on that stage. Heartbreaking to see it in the way. Now that you've had some time to process, how do you think back on Arizona State versus Texas?
The saddest part about it is how much an Oklahoma alum, Neil Jones, reveled in his rival Texas beating me.
Yeah,
so I don't know what that was all about, but I got several texts.
That quote's for Neil just in general. I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah, so I was a little confused by that. It was certainly disappointing. 4th and 13 will haunt me forever. I do think that this playoff and the 12-team playoff in general is off to a good start, despite the fact that the first weekend of on-campus games.
Well, we just saw that in the NFL, and we don't hear everybody talking to change about, we got to change.
Yeah.
Listen, games happen, sports happens. Like, just because a game is a dud doesn't mean it was a bad format.
Yeah, and I thought that it's very telling that the SEC isn't in the title game for 2 straight years, that the Big 12 had a team that was picked to finish dead last preseason with one play away from beating the preseason, what was it, top 3 team in the country, Texas was. So I don't know. I'm very excited about it. I think that the Big 12 in general and the postseason probably showed that like a team like BYU probably should have gotten more respect for what they did than just having to go play the Alamo Bowl against another Big 12 program. But it is what it is. I'm really excited for Monday night. I know that I'm sure ESPN's super thrilled to have the 2 brands of Ohio State and Notre Dame. And I think a lot of people will tune in for which school that they'd rather see lose in that situation. But it was a very exciting year. It greatly surpassed my expectations, and we'll see how it goes from here.
Weird college football season. But not every team can win as many games as the Missouri Tigers. I mean, they finished with 10 wins, 10-3. The Tigers beat Iowa in the Music City Bowl, and Kansas State also got a win, which I think is nice to give a little bit of positivity as they see Will Howard, their former quarterback, now win away from a national championship. So locally, I hope there's that positivity in Kansas football. They're building their new stadium, and hopefully they can run it back with Jalen Daniels next year and have a good year. So, you know what, Gabe? Welcome back. All right, you brought the takes. You know, not your best, but not your worst. Okay, you know the lack of Royals talk that came out of your mouth leaves a little bit to be desired, but you can redeem yourself next time. Okay, there's always next time.
We'll see.
With that said, James Shields, salute. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everyone.